everybody. My name is Elliot, and I'm a yoga instructor. And today I'm going to guide you through a sequence that's about unlocking your inner Zen. So what does that mean? That means we're trying to create a calm mind, an actively calm mind. And the way that we do that is by focusing on our breathing, specifically on breathing through the nose. So you can start by standing at the top of your mat, bringing your big toes all the way together, and beginning to cultivate a deep breath through the nostrils. In and out. And it should sound kind of windy or raspy or frictitious. If that's even a word. But you want to feel the texture in the back of the throat and essentially increase that texture or that friction to create heat and all kinds of other benefits as the air travels. And this is kind of the basis for our practice. We could stand here for an hour and just do that, and it would have tremendous benefit for the body. So you should try that, especially if you're ever sick. What I'm starting to think of now is my feet and how my feet are pressing down into the floor, and I'm trying to press down with the outer heels or the outer edges of the feet, especially on the backside. Because a lot of times the feet will connect into our spine and create our spinal posture, or emanating from our hips, right, which really started our feet. The spine has its shape. So we're trying to decompress the shape of the spine right now by using the feet, which will use these inner leg muscles. So in a lot of ways, yoga is just about becoming more aware of the breath and how it travels through the body, through nerves and through the lungs, which are probably the primary mover of energy in the body next to your brain. And think about them as working together. So take a deep exhale into your belly muscles. A lot of times I practice yoga with my shirt off, but I'm not right now because I have this little microphone here, which is pretty cool. On your next exhale, squeeze the belly in tight, press the palms together, press the feet down, and with your inhale, reach the arms up to the sky and lengthen out the belly. And take a couple breaths there. Press the palms together more, squeeze the abdominal wall, press down into the outer feet, and with your inhale, reach up higher. If you feel compression in the back, try to compress the front more. Squeeze the abdominal wall or contract it with the breath. One more inhale, reaching the arms up and leaning back. As you exhale, transition slowly into a forward fold or a leaning over your legs position. Bend the knees a lot for the first few breaths here to loosen up the posterior chain in the lower back and in the hips. And if you're ready to, you can press the hands down into the floor, starting maybe with the fingertips. Bent knees, you can sway the hips side to side. And allow the head to start to release down to the floor. So the neck, the very important part of your lower back, or not your lower back, your spine. And a lot of the neck posture stems from the lower back. So by stretching our hips, lower back like this, a lot of times it relaxes your neck. So take a couple more breaths in your forward fold, and let's bring the feet out wider. Lean way over to your left as you exhale. Pull the abdominals in tight. Feel into the left hip, and then extend the lower back up, back into the middle. Step your left foot all the way to the back of the mat. Take a couple breaths to set up your hands. Try to keep your neck relaxed as best you can. And then lower your left knee down to the yoga mat. With your inhale, reach the arms up to the sky and continue the lengthening of the midsection. It's a very foundational movement in yoga. It's a back bend. But it's mostly about lengthening upwards, allowing the core to contract towards the back so the spine can flex and lean back more easily. We'll take another inhale here, reaching up and leaning back. And with your exhale, lower both of your hands to the floor inside of the right foot and allow the right hip to open up to the right. This is generally a very tight area of the body for people, so try to breathe into the right hip. And allow it to move or articulate in ways that feel good to you. So in a way, you're listening to what the right leg has to tell you and what the right hip and inner thigh have been experiencing lately. Maybe you've been sitting a lot at a desk, like I have been. So a couple more breaths here. Now you can step that left knee further back if it feels appropriate to you, and lengthen into that left quadricep region, left lower abdominal region, which the quadriceps normally will help the back to relax quite a bit. Stretching the quadriceps, that is. So now press your hands down into the floor and step your right foot back next to your left foot. Move into your plank pose and take 5 breaths there. Try to keep your hips slightly lifted. And as you exhale, pull the core muscles up. You can see my spine is pretty flat. That's what you want. You want the hips to be a little bit higher than the head. That way the lower abdominals are fully contracted as you exhale. So you can just focus on the abdominal contraction. And then exhale, chaturanga. Lower down to about a 90-degree bend in the elbows. And squeeze the obliques up. So you can see I'm kind of hovering here. This is about how far down you want to go. Inhale, push back up until you get warmer, right? At first, at least, exhale, chaturanga, lower down. It's all about the obliques, pulling up and in. And inhale, upward dog or cobra. The hips can lower. It's a good way to introduce the body to the stretch first thing in the morning. If you're ever doing yoga first thing, try to lengthen the neck. Take an inhale to lift the collarbones. Squeeze your legs together as you exhale. And with your inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, downward dog, hips up and back, or child's pose, which would be just lowering the knees down to the floor. And taking a few breaths there. Otherwise, downward dog. As you engage the lower core muscles more, the neck will be able to relax more. And lengthen out the sides. Try to breathe into your lats. Take another inhale, lifting the hips up to the sky. And as you exhale, bend the knees pretty close down to the floor. Squeeze the belly in tight. Then tippy toe the feet to your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Head releases down toward your toes. Inhale, standing back bend. Reach the arms up. Lean back. Exhale, hands to your heart. Interlace the fingers and press the palms up. Take a couple more breaths in a back bend. Bring those shoulders behind the ears, and as you exhale, pull the rib cage back. Support the scapulas in separating. As you inhale, reach the hands up higher. As you exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees and transition slowly through the lower back. Inhale, halfway lift. Which is kind of like a deadlift. Exhale, forward fold. We'll do that a couple more times. Trying to use the glutes. So inhale to that halfway position in the upper body, but press your hips back. Exhale, fold forward over the thighs. One more time. Inhale, halfway lift. using the glutes, which will help to decompress the lower spine. Then as you exhale, both hands lower down to the floor. Step your left foot back. Take a couple breaths. Left knee is bent. And try to relax the neck. Take one more inhale here. Step that right foot a little bit further back. And as you exhale, lower the right knee all the way down to the floor. And with your inhale, arms reach up to the sky for a low lunge. That's what they call this. It's really not a traditional yoga pose, but it is great for your lower back. So once you start to feel comfortable here, bend the left knee more. There's a couple positions. Bend your left knee more, shift the hips forward, which you're really interested in, right? This is a great way to stretch open the hip, but we want to be sensitive, right? Don't overdo it. And then you can lessen the stretch in the thigh and in the inner hip and stretch more in the right side, so you can start to create a back bend there, which is my preference, just because this can be a lot for the hips. It makes it a little bit more mellow, especially if you're recovering from rock climbing or something like that. So one more inhale, arms reaching up, lean back more. As you exhale, both hands lower down to the floor inside of the left foot. Always good to lose your balance a little bit in the yoga. That's how you have fun with it, I think. Even after 100 times of doing it, it can still be very challenging sometimes. So bend the left knee, try to get the shoulder inside of the thigh, relax the head down towards the floor. I'm feeling a lot of tension in this left inner thigh, probably just from sitting too much. I also went for a run this morning. So depending on what you're feeling, it can tell you a lot about your recovery process in the body. And they say that a feel-oriented recovery process is still better than data, right? Better than numbers. How you feel about it is really what's important. So take another inhale and straighten up that left knee a little bit more. Then as you exhale, bend it a bunch. Pull the belly muscles in really tight. And then as you inhale, float your left foot back next to your right and move back into that plank pose. And 5 more breaths here. Spread your fingers. Think about what it would take to float your feet off the floor. Then take one more inhale for 5. Lean forward over the hands. Exhale, lower down halfway. Try to keep those elbows in really tight. Pull the obliques up and in. Then inhale, upward dog or cobra, feet together. You can look up if that feels all right. And then exhale, hips up and back. Downward dog for 5 breaths. Broaden the shoulders and relax the neck. Lengthen out the sides. Take one more inhale, lift those hips up even higher. As you exhale, bend the knees, pull the belly in tight. And then tippy toe or float. Feet to your hands. If you end up a little bit short, that's actually good. It's fine. You just want to pike the hips up. Exhale, forward fold, relax the head down. Just a little hop. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up to that standing back bend. Exhale, hands to your heart, mountain pose. A little bit more work to do. Now we'll start off with the chair pose. Hands sweep the floor, inhale. As you exhale, feel into the backs of the legs, the calves, and the Achilles tendon, and try to deepen your breath down the spine as you feel into the legs more. for 3, for 2. Exhale, hips as low as they can go. Take an inhale there, breathe into the lower back. Try to decompress it. Then exhale, forward fold, relax the head down towards the toes. Inhale into your halfway lifted position. Roll the shoulder blades back. Then as you exhale, let's stack the left hand just below the right knee on top of the right shin. Then the right hand on top of your left. Bend the right knee as you exhale. And then float your left leg up and back. Start to extend through the left heel. And move into a warrior 3 with your hands stacked just below the right knee. Bend the right knee a little bit more. And press your left heel up and back to the sky. See if you can lift it up higher. And relax your neck there. Take one more breath, lifting the left leg, and then send it all the way to the back of the yoga mat. High lunge. So now the knee is lifted off the floor. Arms reach up to the sky. We could have spent a little bit more time in Warrior 3. This is kind of an intro sequence. If I really wanted to push it, 20 breaths in Warrior 3, which is killer. You won't be thinking about much except your leg after that, which is fun. You know, legs are cool. So 2 more breaths here, arms reaching up, lean back more. And exhale into a pyramid pose or a single-legged forward fold. Relax the head to your right knee. Then you can reach your arms behind you for a few breaths. Maybe you almost fall over. Nice. One more inhale, arms up and back. As you exhale, transition into a triangle pose. Lower your right hand down to the top of the right foot. Pivot the left heel down to the right. Stance will be pretty long. And as you inhale, reach your left arm up to the sky and lift out of compression in the right hip. The first few breaths we're lifting a lot, right? And then you can start to reach the right hand down more. Cool. So left hand lowers, right knee bends a bunch. Inhale, right arm reaches up to the sky for a dragonfly twist. Take a couple of breaths there. Press into the right ball of the foot and lift the right heel if you can do more. One more inhale there. As you exhale, right heel lowers, right hand lowers. Float your left leg up to the sky. Take a huge breath there. Lift the left leg as high as it's ready to go. Extend it away from the spine. And as you exhale, lower the left foot down next to your right. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arm sweep up to the sky, standing back bend. Lean back. Exhale, hands to your heart. Now we'll take another inhale to reach the arms up, find that back bend. Exhale, fold forward over the legs. Feel into the difference between the sides. Should still be pretty pronounced or fairly pronounced. Inhale, halfway lift. Now stack your right hand on top of the left shin, just below the kneecap, and then left hand on top of the right. Bend the left knee more, and float your right leg up and back. Now again, if you want to make this more challenging, you can pause the video here and hold it for longer. And really, you could do that for any of these poses if you feel like you should take more time in them. But you'll notice my whole spine is lengthening from the back of the neck, ideally relaxing and extending to the right heel pressing away from me. And left knee bends a lot for this. Try to lift the right heel up to the sky. Take 2 more breaths. Keep the neck long with that right leg. 1 more inhale, lifting the heel, and then float it to the back of the mat. High lunge pose. Whew. Arms reach up to the sky. And again, you can hold that for longer if you want. I think we do the second side for a breath. Longer than the front, or longer than the right. Arms can reach up. Try to create space for the neck. For 2. Another pose you can hold for longer if you'd like. Notice how I'm bending the back knee. It helps to engage the core. Lengthen the spine. Last inhale here. Then as you exhale, pyramid pose. Lean forward over your left thigh. Relax your head down towards the knee. So we have a tiny little bend in that left knee, and that's going to help us to bring the weight more into the muscles around the hip rather than the bones of the hip. So in other words, it'll help us to stretch and to feel better in the inner thigh. So there's a lot of muscle, very dense muscle in the hip. I'm actually writing an article about it right now. Hopefully I'll be done in the next few days. So a couple more breaths here. Try to relax your head, but breathe to lift the hips. Expand those lower back vertebrae. And the spiniest processes of them, or spinous process, I don't know how to say it. I've never heard anyone say it before. Lower the right heel down to your left. Triangle pose as you inhale, right arm reaches up to the sky. And again, find that lift to start so you can create space between the left hip pulling back and the upper body leaning forward over the left thigh and left leg. Then right arm's reaching up. Roll the shoulder blades away. So you're broadening the shoulders as you reach up. Maybe you can reach down towards that left foot a little bit more. One more inhale with the right arm up, lean it back. As you exhale, right hand lowers to your left foot, bend the knee, and then float your right leg up to the sky. So your left leg is pretty bent as you extend the right heel away from you. Then as you exhale, right foot lowers down next to your left. Inhale, halfway lift. Then we'll hold that for a few breaths, allowing us to get weight back into the glutes and the inner thighs. It's likely we've moved some stuff around, some muscles around, some bones around a little bit, even if it's just millimeters. That can feel like quite a lot. So one more inhale, finding movement in the hips that feel good. You can see I'm kind of dancing over here, just circling the hips. And then goddess pose. So toes point out. Try to lower the hips, and it's always okay to start up here in more of a horse pose or whatever you want to call this, because it doesn't really have a traditional yoga pose name. At least not that I know of. Right? There might be a lineage has a name for that, but what do I know? So point the toes out wide. Take 3 more breaths into the hips. And perhaps hands to your heart. As you exhale slowly, either press down into your hands and lift the hips, cross your ankles behind you, and move into a seated cross-legged position. Or, from your goddess pose, you can just lower the hips, move into your cross-legged position. The second one is obviously my preference. And then as you inhale, lift the heart and meditate in unison with the beat of your heart. And lay back and take 5 breaths in a resting position or savasana. You can undo your hair if your hair was done up. And allow the body to rest for a minute. Take your time to sit up. Take one more breath right into the center of your lungs. And exhale out through the mouth. Thank you so much for joining me today. And until the next time, namaste.